you know, we still got something out of the game, even though, you know, it wasn't a brilliant performance. Well, maybe we take that on Monday, but the way we're playing, perhaps we should expect more.
Yeah, I agree. Wow.
I mean, what's noticeable, I was out and around Gravesend this morning, and I was out last night at a house party, and people are talking about the football club. You know, people are saying, hey, they're doing really well. You know, the local community is really taking notice. And people are coming up to me, you know, they know what I do around the club, and they want to talk about the success of the fleet. You know, so there's something stirring. And, you know, if they can keep this going, the crowds are going to come back.
Right, no, I agree. We definitely, you know, have to capitalize on that, because I just remember Liam talking last year, and when he was addressing, there was a meeting, I believe in April, just, you know, addressing the fans, and just saying, you know, you just can't keep rebuilding these sides, but he certainly has, and so you can't keep rebuilding these sides. This is another gift, you know, given to us by Liam, and you know, obviously we have to take advantage of it, capitalize on it.
But, you know, we've got to do everything in our power not to let this side slip through our fingers, you know, including the management team, because, you know, I think we really are poised here with a young side that's come together very quickly. They've embraced Liam's ideals and his attitude to the way we play, and, you know, it's having a very, very, very positive effect. You know, if we win our games in hand, you know, we go second. If we beat Braintree and win our games in hand, we'd be top. Now, that's scary. You know, who would have thought that in July?
No.
I don't think anybody would have expected that. So, you know, we've got to manage our expectations and, you know, keep getting behind the team, keep supporting the club in every way we can, and just go about our business with dignity and integrity.
Agreed. Well, I guess I'd like to move it on to maybe the last thing. Maybe we could talk a little bit about Hall of Fame, the Fleet Legends. I was telling you that I got Paul Harrison's book, and so I decided to look up, is it Jimmy Logie?
Jimmy Logie.
Logie, yes, okay.
Jimmy Logie. Well, Jimmy Logie, I think I miss Jimmy Logie. I mean, I'm about 104, but I cannot actually remember seeing Jimmy Logie play. But he was a great Scottish international who played, now if you'll forgive me for using this word, for Arsenal. I beg your pardon. Being a Spurs fan, it's hard to say that. But he was a great player with Arsenal, and he graced the stage at Highbury for a long time with great distinction. But at the end of his career, I don't know the story of how and why, but he dropped to the Southern League, which was then, that was the equivalent of the Blue Square Premier. It was the senior semi-professional tier of football in England. And as a veteran, Jimmy Logie came and played for the Fleet, and he inspired them to win the Southern League title, which, as I say, in those days was the equivalent of winning the Blue Square Premier. So if the structure had been in place as it is today, that would have seen the Fleet enter the Football League. And that was, I think, 1958. And it was a great shame, but in those days you had to get votes to be elected into the Football League. And the people that were voting were the clubs at the bottom of the Football League. So it was a bit like turkeys not wanting to vote for Christmas. So the clubs in the Football League always voted for themselves to stay in it and not to elect a new club. So the Fleet missed out. But, you know, if Logie had come and weaved his magic, he was only a tiny fella, but he caused an absolute riot in the Southern League because, you know, here he was, a Scottish international, fresh out of the English First Division, the top tier of the game, which in those days was probably the Premier League in world football. And, you know, he was playing for Gravesend and Northfleet, and, you know, he was taking his skills around the country on behalf of the fleet. And that was quite a remarkable signing at the time. And it was the beginning of an era of some achievement, but it also was the beginning of an era that it ultimately turned into disappointment, with the club, you know, sailing close to the wind financially and getting relegated a few years later. But on the way, they did have a fantastic cup run in 1963, which was the last great winter in this country, which saw the team go all the way to playing Sunderland at Stonebridge Road and taking them to a replay before going out up at Roker Park. But that cup run, that winter, gave them the distinction of being in the FA Cup for the longest ever period, because they entered in August in the preliminary rounds, and because the games were cancelled due to the weather, they eventually went out after some ridiculous amount of time. I think it was late February, and they were in the FA Cup for such a long period. I don't think the time scale has ever been beaten. Wow. But the Jimmy Logie era just preceded that, and shortly after the Sunderland run, the club did enter financial difficulties and had to start again. So, you know, what we're going through now isn't new. You know, the periods of feast and famine have happened many times before.
Yeah, I agree. And, well, wow, Charles, that was great recall there. I was going to say that Lewes is doing the same thing. So it's pretty common. You know, they had a great run and moved all the way to the Blue Square Prem, and now they're sort of on the way down. And in fact, we played them, I was looking back 2 years ago.
I think, in fact, it was John Akindi's last game before he was transferred. We played them down at their quaintly named ground, which is called the Dripping Pan, which is a bizarre stadium. I mean, Lewes is a wonderful, wonderful medieval town full of quaint things, like they've got their own money down there that can be exchanged amongst shopkeepers. They've got breweries down there that are legends for the fiery beer that they brew. But they've got hardly any parking. They've got hardly any terracing. They've not got a radio point for us to plug in and connect our BBC kit to, so we have to use the radio-controlled microphone box that we've got. It's a complete crackpot of a club. But, you know, good luck to their fans. They're trying to stabilise it and move it into the future.
No, it sounds like a great experience to go there, you know. And
oh, you've got to go to Lewes at least once in your life. You know, put it on your. Forget going to Niagara Falls and Venice. You know, go to Lewes.
I'm going to remember that.
Okay, put it on your bucket list.
Okay.
A trip to Lewes and an away trip to Droylsden.
All right.
I'm going to tick that one off my bucket list.
Okay. Well, Charles, thank you again. And,
not at all.
Unless you have anything else, we will talk next week after Braintree.
Yes, indeed, and we'll be looking forward to the games ahead, which will include that FA Trophy game at Droylsden that's coming up. Yes. And, well, I think it's going to be an exciting new year, and I'd just like to wish any Fleet fans that are listening, and indeed any other football fans that are tuning in for a bit of curiosity value, a very happy new year. I hope your team does well, whoever you support. But if it's the Fleet, I hope you enjoy a great season and that we end up picking up some sort of silverware come the end of the season.
All right. Well, thank you.
And a happy new year.
Thank you. You too. Take care.
Take care.
Bye.
Charles. And now, a few items from the MYFC website dashboard. Arathon has reopened its pledge to give Liam a fighting chance. It's now called a Christmas pledge. It was so successful before that it's being continued. Pledge £10 and give Liam a fighting chance to sign those players that are not under contract and keep them till the end of the season. We have 2 live votes, both end on January 5th. The first is to decide a special promotion for the Thurrock game That's on the 25th of January. Check it out. And then the second vote is to continue our Facebook advertising. So whether you're for it, against it, or ambivalent, it is important that you take a look at it, vote, and comment. Also on January 5th, there's a scheduled commercial meeting with the club staff, the EUFC board, and Coach Liam Daish. Now, the society board has been invited, but it's not clear who can make it at this time. The purpose of this meeting is to find other ways to bring money into the club. You can read the article on the website and post your ideas at the bottom of the article. And don't forget, if you're enjoying the MyFC experience, tell your friends and family. Go to myfctrial.com for a free 30-day trial. Now again, not much is happening with the youth teams or the ladies teams. I know that the youth teams are going to start playing mid-January, along with the reserves. By the way, I've got another interview all ready to go, and I'm going to post it early next week. I know you're going to like it. I spoke to Tony Giles yesterday. He heads up the Fleet Reserves, the Fleet Academy, and the Under-18s. Be on the lookout for that one. As always, remember the websites, myfootballclub.co.uk for all your MyFootball Club news, ebbsfleetunited.co.uk for all your Ebbsfleet news, on Facebook at facebook.com/myfootballclub, and on Twitter at twitter.com/myfootballclub. And I've got two new ones. For MyFC merchandise, go to myfootballclub.bigcartel.com, buy yourself a shirt, a tie, a car sticker. I got mine. I have to remove the snow before I put it on. And we still have Adopt a Player. And that's at myfootballclub.co.uk/adopt a player. Until next time, this is your humble narrator signing off. Up the Fleet.
Es un pedazo ese ramas in